Hello everyone, my name is Samantha Gregory and welcome to Talking with Samantha. Today I have a very special guest. Her name is Marche Johnson. She is from Montgomery. She's actually a native and I'm excited to have her here on this show to tell us a little bit about what she's doing in the community, both as an entrepreneur in the political arena and how she is empowering other women like you. Welcome, Marche.
Thank you for having me.
So glad to have you here. I read your bio and I said, wow, she is doing a lot. You have an extensive background. I read that you not only are native of Montgomery, but you also have spent some time in the military. Tell me a little bit about that.
I spent 13 years in the Army. I deployed twice, once to Iraq and once to Afghanistan. Okay. And I did a forward deployment in South Korea. And I did the 13 years, and once I returned home, I ended up getting out. Mm-hmm. And when I got out the Army, I had plans on doing a lot of things, mm-hmm. but it ended up going another route. Okay. I ended up coming back to Montgomery. I was originally in, when I retired out, I was in El Paso, Texas. And I was going to stay there and opened up a sewing studio. And what I was doing was teaching sewing classes to the community there, to children. And it was mobile, so I was going into the elementary schools. And but found out my grandmother had stage 4 cancer. And it brought me back to Montgomery. Okay. And when I got to Montgomery, I saw things hadn't changed at all, actually. And I was gone total 15 years, but I was active 13. And I said, what can I do to change the landscape here? Because it's not progressing, it's actually going backwards. Wow. And that shouldn't be, not in 2019. You know, so I decided to run for office. Okay. I ran for city council because that was the seat that had the most influence in the community, and that's where I wanted to be. Okay. To touch bases with my neighbors and actually still have contact with them and make a difference in where I came from. Ran for office. I ran against a 16-year incumbent, male-dominated field, of course, right? Of course, of course. Well, I almost won. I lost by 6 votes. Wow, 6 votes. After a runoff and a recount, it was still a 6-vote loss. But I don't take it as a loss. I took that as me finding that's where I need to be and that's where I should be. So I'm still currently in the community working. My thing is economic development. So I decided to open a collective for Fem City, which is women's organization that empowers women entrepreneurs and professionals. And I opened a collective in Montgomery. We've been up and running about 3 months now. And started Single Moms Network down in Montgomery. Being a chapter lead. So that's a big, big thing. So everything is surrounded by empowering women. Sure. And being that inspiration and motivation as a network. Absolutely. Because, you know, it takes a village to raise our kids. It takes a village for us. Because we need that network to lean on. Absolutely. So. Absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. I believe that you are out to make an impact, and I can feel it. I can see it. So let's go back to sewing classes. Yeah. I did not expect you to say that. But I think that's amazing. And the reason why I find it amazing because my mom taught me how to sew, and she sews and she's been sewing forever. And so I think that's really important to be able to teach the next generation how to use those skills. These skills have kind of been lost. And even though people these days are kind of look down on the home economic arts, I think it's really important because it does build certain skills that you need in order to decide what it is you want to be, extend your creativity, et cetera, et cetera. So who taught you how to sew? My grandmother. Okay. My father, my paternal grandmother. Okay. She had this sewing room in her home, and every weekend when I went over, she would have us sew a pillowcase or like, oh, you like that shirt? Okay, go sew it. Like, so, and she would let us have it, all the patterns and everything. So it started there, and I was about 10 when I started. And so when I got out, I was trying to find my niche, you know, like, what can I do? How can I make an impact in El Paso, which is where I was going to consider home. Right. And the area there is highly populated with Hispanics. Okay. And they do a lot of sewing. You know, it saves money and stuff like that too. Right. But I looked at it as it was a lost art. We don't have home economics in schools anymore, and we have a lot of creative children.
Yes.
And to keep that going, because I don't know, the new generation sewing and cooking and just putting that hem in your pants and that lost button, that's just not a thing that they can do anymore.
So tell me about your career as a political strategist. What exactly do you do?
So what I'm doing is I'm working behind the scenes, creating just that, that roadmap for the candidates that's coming up that are ready to run and they just don't know exactly what to do or how to get their footing.
Right.
So I'm helping them do the groundwork. And right now, we are in that season for the primaries. And as well as the primaries, we have a lot of local seats that's coming up. We have our county commissioner seat coming up, and we have some judicial seats coming up. And so I am working with a couple of the judicial candidates and a county commissioner candidate.
Excellent. Yeah. Now, I've never met a real life political strategist, but I think this is really exciting. Did you decide to go into this field because of your campaign and you running, or is it something that you've always wanted to do?
Well, I can go back and say it's something that I've always looked towards, well, not exactly political strategy though. That came about from my campaign. It had a lot of traction because I ran against that 16-year incumbent, which people look at as a built establishment, and I pretty much broke the foundation of it.
Okay.
And so that's where the strategy came from. But I've always wanted to get into politics.
Okay. Excellent, excellent. So how long have you been doing this?
Let's say it's been about almost 3 years now.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost 3 years.
Excellent. So what was some of the challenges that you encountered on this path to becoming a political strategist?
I would say the challenges I would look at as far as it wasn't too many further strategy because that kind of came, it rolled into it.
Okay.
So you could say that this was just, I found my niche.
Yes.
But as far as with the campaign, a lot of the challenges came from being a young Black woman in Montgomery. And Alabama, we still have our things where the generations are pretty stuck.
Right.
We say we've been fighting this fight for about good 50, 60 years.
Absolutely.
But we're still fighting that fight. As far as women, trying to get into, breaking that glass ceiling.
Right.
And as far as a Black woman, trying to get into that arena.
Right.
It's easier for our Black men to get into that area because they say that's a man's lane.
Right.
So now, as a woman, finding my place, I found that it was different, especially when I went door to door and really sitting with people and working and talking like, hey, they're like, I'm women. I can't believe you're doing it.
Really?
You're really running for this position. Kudos. It was really interesting to find the dynamics of how politics really work in the households and how different it is than what I would expect. You hear about it, you watch it on TV, but you really don't know that this is real life.
Exactly.
It's really happening. And so that would be some of the challenges, just learning that it's different when you have the single professional and the married families going in, casting their votes and who they want to vote for and where you're standing as far as the impact you're going to make on their lives.
Right.
And it's a challenge being young and just not having that experience. But my military experience helped me a lot because the military is very political. So it helped a lot and it broke a lot of ground as far as experience. So when we say don't have experience, well, I do.
Yes.
Got
it. Which is very important because, like you said, coming from a military background, even in every office, it seems they're looking for someone who has the ability to lead people because that's what the military gives you. They're looking for somebody who has a strategy, which of course the military gives you depending of course on your MOS and et cetera. But what would you tell another woman, a young woman who's thinking about running for office? Where should she even start? Because now we see so many women in the political arena who are running, from Stacey Abrams to Ms. Warren, who's also running now for the presidential candidacy campaigns. So where would you tell a young Black woman to start if she is interested in getting into office and possibly becoming a president?
Well, I would say if you as a woman are looking to get into politics, study. I would say study the seat that you're looking to run for. Find out as much as you can about it. It's so many classes available now. I'm a Merge graduate, which we also had another presidential candidate that she's no longer in the race.
Okay.
But she's also a Merge alumni. And I took that class. It was a boot camp I took. But they have the cohorts that are like 19 weeks. But either way, I would say get educated. It's free classes online that you can do. Start walking behind someone, get a mentor. And just, you know what, just walk in confidence, because if that's what you want to do, do it. Don't let anyone talk you out of it. Mm-hmm. Don't let anyone tell you it's not your time, because if you feel in your heart that it's what you want to do, then go for it. Especially if you have a passion for helping the community and the people, because that's what we need right now. Right now in the community, we need nurturing.
Absolutely.
And a woman can provide that.
Yes, absolutely. I had the privilege of actually serving under the first black female mayor in Hurtsboro, Alabama. And her name was Mayor Stovall. So I worked in the city hall. I had close contact with her, and at one point she was encouraging me to run for office, and I was like, oh my God, no. I don't think I want to do that. I cannot do that. But just looking back and seeing that maybe I could have done it. But I think it does take encouragement. It does take seeing more people who are pursuing the political arena, pursuing office, and not being discouraged. I think, and this is why it's so important to have, you said, like a village around you, for people who are going to encourage you and push you to do those things what seems impossible, but they're really not impossible, because if you just make a decision and determination, you can do it. So I'm just really excited about all the young women who are going to come up and say, you know what, I can do that too.
That's right.
I can do that too. Now, what if they aren't in the military? So you had that background when you ran, but if they're not in the military, but they're, let's say, a housewife, or they may be working in corporate America, is this the same path in terms of taking the classes, or what else would you tell them to do to prepare for a possible life in the public eye, and as well as politics?
It would be the same path. I don't think it's any different leading towards it. It's just you as the person. You know, alongside me, I had a retired teacher. 25 years, educator. So she's also running for our 2nd district congressional seat now. Nice. So, and this is an educator. Alongside me, when I was in Emerge, I had some stay-at-home moms that Obama's reign made them say, hey, you know what? I'm about to make some change. And they came and they took the class and they run for State House. So they didn't win, but they did it. And I think that's the big step, just stepping out and doing it.
Absolutely.
Stepping out on faith, because you never know where you'll end up. And a lot of people are still working in the political arena right now, or still wanting to run for office. So no matter what you're doing, whether you're at home, it doesn't matter. I mean, because we all have something. I wouldn't say that no one has no experience. We all have some experience.
We do, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. What do you love most about your life right now?
You know what? I would say I'm very comfortable in the place that I'm in. I actually ran for office. At the end, I was pregnant.
Really? Okay.
Yes, and I knocked 15,000 doors, excuse me.
Oh my goodness.
I phone banked and called over 25,000 people.
Wow.
Along with, I had a team of 5 volunteers. People just believed in me, and I was pregnant.
Wow.
And I'm now a mother of a 2-month-old and a 14-year-old boy.
Oh goodness.
And still working in it. I don't stop. And I know some people are like, how do you still have energy?
Right.
I love it. And I think that's what it takes. You have to just love what you're doing. And so I love this place. Me and the mom. So out of the military, I had the opportunity to retire. So being able to still have time and that flexibility to be home and be that mom and still do the things that I love to do is a better place to be at the moment.
Excellent. Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. I think that finding your joy and finding happiness in the place where you are right now is so important. And when you're looking at all the blessings that you have for right now in this moment, I think that really helps you take I don't know. It takes a special kind of person to see the good that's happening in their life and truly love their lives just the way it is. So, my last question for you is, what would you say to a woman who is struggling with confusion about their path in life? Because you seem to have found your path. I won't say early on, but you seem to have found it, and you're like, that's what I'm doing. I'm trekking forward on this path, and I'm not going to deviate. So what would you say to a woman who is kind of confused and looking for her purpose and path?
So to the woman that's looking for her purpose and path, I've been there. I've definitely been there, especially dealing with the loss of my grandmother. And that gave me a detour in life, because I was getting out, and I had a plan to be an educator.
Okay.
You know, that second career or go back into government contract. And I had these plans, but it didn't work out that way. God saw differently. And so I would say if you're in that place of confusion and struggle, sit in that place. And while you're sitting in that place, meditate a little bit. You know, when I say sit, I don't mean sit and just don't do anything and be still, but be still. You know, figure out yourself spiritually, physically, mentally. If you're capable of working out, work out. Change your habits of eating. You know, dig deep into whatever your spirituality is, and do some self-care. Because a lot of times as a woman, we tend to give everything everywhere else. We give, but we don't take time for ourselves. And I had to figure that out. Like, why is nothing going right now? We all get to that spot, but we have to realize that it's probably not going right because you're doing too much.
Yes.
Or you're too many different places. So just stop, think a little bit, meditate a little bit, and find that sweet spot. And you'll know what it is, because it'll just flow. Like how I kind of said, I just flowed into the other spot. It really wasn't anything I worked towards. I wasn't even expecting it. It came to me. And that was because I was sitting in the moment, just trying to find me.
Okay. I love that. Just sit in that space and not force anything. Because I think when we start to force and churn and try to figure things out and fight against what you're going through, then that causes even more issues and problems, and it kind of just escalates into more confusion and more just not knowing where I'm going to be and where I'm going to go. So thank you for, sharing that, and that you have also been through that. I have as well, because I know that it's all a journey. It's all a part of this thing we're calling life.
Yes.
And it's okay. But I think, we get to the place where we stop beating ourselves up, and we stop expecting perfection out of imperfect people. So I think as we continue to move forward in our lives, that we'll gain more perspective, and we're able to be silent and still, and really get to a place of, okay, I'm good with me.
Yeah.
And when you get to that place of clarity, then that path opens up, and it's like, wow, the clouds part, and you see where you're supposed to be.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Marshawn. Thank you so much, Marche.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a new segment that I'm going to be introducing. It's called The Burning Question. And so I would love for you to help answer this question. This is a question from our audience who has sent it in to me, and we want to find out where exactly these questions are going to lead us as we have this discussion. So our question is, how do you deal with depression on top of everything else in life?
Oh, that's good. That's good. I know earlier I spoke about losing my grandmother. I had already lost my mother at 14, and following that, it was just loss after loss after loss, and it felt like I was at a place where everyone I was close to, I lost. And so I was sitting deep in depression, till it went to a place where I had to figure out, is the world better off without me?
Okay.
And it's not. We all have our space in the world, and we all have our meaningful moments in the world, and we all have to go through loss. And I think losing my grandmother was depressing, but at the same time eye-opening, because I went through the transition with her, and I realized that this is the cycle of life, and you have to keep moving forward. you can't stop in life, because once you stop in life, or if you feel like you can't grow anymore, you're dead anyway.
True.
You know,
Yes.
and so you have to live life, and to be complete and full in it, you have to live in it.
Yes.
And go through these moments of grief and sorrow or depression, you know, struggle,
Right.
whatever it may be. And even if it's not loss of a person, loss of yourself. And I can say that I maybe went through the two together. And so it took a lot, and knowing that it's okay to seek help. A lot of times we sit in that place and don't want to reach for help because we're so prideful.
Right.
Or so proud.
Yes.
But it's okay, because we can't do it alone.
Absolutely.
So knowing to reach out for some help, counseling, or a best friend, that best friend is still counseling in some form or fashion.
Absolutely.
And knowing that other people are going through life as well, so they can't stop their life to help you in yours too. So we kind of got to live in the moment and know how to work through it ourselves, but knowing that with that we need a partner.
Absolutely.
So I would say to seek help.
Yeah. Okay.
And just keep moving and living.
Absolutely. So I know for my answer to that question is similar to yours, and because mental health is a big topic in our community right now, it is important that you get help and that you open up and you start looking for solutions. I went through depression for years, a lot of years, and I often ask myself, okay, is this nature or is it nurture?
Yeah.
You know, what is depression really? Is it something that you learn from the people around you? Is it a chemical imbalance? It's all of those things. It really is. And I think that there are ways for you to move out of the place of depression and into a place of full joy. And that in and of itself is a process.
Yes.
It's not easy, but it does take a decision that you want to be in a different place. Sometimes I think we develop this habit of when we don't know what to do about a problem, we immediately get down. We immediately think the worst. We have a negative spirit about us. And sometimes even all the things that, you know, they said in religion and, you know, just take it to Jesus and leave it there. Some people haven't really gotten to that space where they can truly leave it there because they need to process it first. A lot of times in real life, people are like, just get over it. You know, but that to me is the worst thing you can say to a person. You can't get over it. You have to go through it in this process, and you have to get to the place where you can manage and deal with issues and problems as they come up and not suppress them. Somebody once said that depression is anger turned inward. And if that's the case, then find out why you're angry.
The root cause.
Yeah, what's the root cause? And there may be many things involved, but it's not impossible. So there's some physical things you can do. There's some mental things you can do. I love meditation. I love journaling. I love, I even, started taking more vitamins because I found out that I was deficient.
Yeah.
And so that, affects your mental health. So there's a lot of things that you can do, and I definitely want everyone to go to talkingwithsamantha.com to learn more about how you can manage the depression that you're dealing with right now and how to seek help, mental help, because mental health is it really impacts how you move into the world and how you take your life to the next level. So I want to thank you, Marche, so much for being here. Thank you for opening up, and thank you for sharing how you're impacting the world, how your experiences have affected your life, and how you determined to become a woman of excellence and to empower other women in the process. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And this has been Talking with Samantha. I am your host, Samantha Gregory. And you can go to talkingwithsamantha.com to learn more about Marche Johnson and the other guests that we'll have as well. Take care. We'll see you soon. Welcome to another Trailblazer segment. Today we're talking about Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm. She was the first African-American woman elected to Congress in 1968. She later gained the title of the first woman and African-American to campaign for the Democratic presidential nomination in 1972. Her slogan was "Fighting Shirley Chisholm, Unbought and Unbossed." Shirley always sought after extracurricular activities that allowed her to advocate for women and minorities. Educator and civil rights advocate, Shirley Chisholm dedicated her life to helping the people in her community. In her early years in New York, she joined her local chapter of the League of Women Voters, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, or the NAACP, the Urban League, and the Democratic Party Club in Brooklyn. Shirley eventually retired from the House of Representatives in 1982 after serving 7 terms. Thank you, Shirley Chisholm.